So who is the World Economic Forum? The World Economic Forum is a collection of the most powerful companies in the world that all basically sit in a room together and decide the future of all of us little people. Now, when we look at who these people are, just to put it into context, just in the banking industry alone, this is on their website, worldeconomicforum.org, you'll see just a small sample. Bank of America, Barclays, Credit Suisse, Citigroup, you have Deutsche Bank, you have Goldman Sachs. These are just some of the names in America. JP Morgan Chase, Lloyd's Banking Group, the MasterCard, Morgan Stanley, New York Stock Exchange, PayPal, Ripple. And then we go overseas. You have Singapore Exchange, State Bank of India, you have TD Bank Group, Visa, Zenith Bank. This is just the banking sector. When you look at tech, you look at oil and gas, you look at energy, you look at all of these other segments of business, agricultural, aerospace, aviation, digital communications, health, these people are all dictating our fate. And it seems like a lot of people aren't really talking so much about what their intentions are through this fourth industrial revolution. However, what is essentially going to happen is we're going to start to see the way that we live radically change in the name of safety, and it's all going to happen very, very quickly. But when we look at how we'll own nothing and be happy, it's going to happen very quickly. It's actually happening right now. People don't see it. But if we look at this article right here, if you sell a house these days, the buyer might be a pension fund. This is how it is all going to happen. Through inflation, we're going to have higher cost of living. We're going to have increased costs for food. Insurance premiums are going to go up. Everything is going to go up except wages. Wages are likely going to stay flat, if not decline, because what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of companies start to outsource more and more and more talent east. China, India, they're going to start outsourcing there, where a lot of these people, they will be happy to jump on an opportunity to make slightly more than they're making where they are now. And American companies, American corporations, they will be very happy to pay 20 or 30% less for an employee and build out further infrastructure over there. So that's only going to take away opportunity from Americans, and it's going to basically enrich these large corporations. These large corporations are going to be able to start seizing up property. And this article right here is fascinating. A bidding war broke out this winter at a new subdivision north of Houston, but the prize this time was an entire subdivision, not just a single suburban home, illustrating the rise of big investors as a potent new force in the U.S. housing market. D.R. Horton built 124 houses in Conroe, Texas, rented them out, and then put the whole community, Amber Pines at Forest Ridge, on the block. A who's who of investors and home rental firms flocked to the December sale. The winning $32 million bid came from an online property investing platform, Fundrise, which manages $1 billion on behalf of about 150,000 individuals. Fundrise also just took $300 million from JP Morgan last week. JP Morgan and Fundrise partnered up, and they're going to start getting more and more aggressive into single-family homes. The country's most prolific home builder booked roughly twice what it typically makes selling houses to the middle class, an encouraging debut in the business of selling entire neighborhoods to investors. We certainly wouldn't expect every single family community we sell to sell at 50% gross margin, the builder finance chief Bill Wheat said at a recent investor conference. From individuals with smartphones and a few $1,000s to pension funds and private equity firms with billions, yield-chasing investors are snapping up single-family homes to rent them out to Americans. They are competing for houses with ordinary Americans who are armed with the cheapest mortgage financing ever, the driving up home prices. You now have permanent capital competing with young couples trying to buy a home. I mean, these people, permanent capital, these people can pay any price for a home. A typical American family can't. They can barely afford to even get in the market, if at all, right now. Said John Burns, whose anonymous real estate consulting firm estimates that as many as the nation's top markets, roughly 1 in every 5 houses sold is bought by someone that never moves in. 1 in 5, so 20% of all home sales right now are by essentially corporations. That's going to make U.S. housing permanently more expensive. The consulting firm found Houston to be a favorite haunt of investors who have lately accounted for 24% of home purchases there. Investors slice out the housing market grows as it in other areas booms, such as Miami, Phoenix, and Vegas, among properties priced below $300,000 in decent school districts. Limited housing supply, low rates, a global reach for yield, and what we're calling the institutionalization of real estate investors has set the stage for another spectacular, speculative, investor-driven home price bubble, the firm concluded. This isn't, this is a bubble, but this isn't as well, because it's not for them, because they're going to hold on to it for 20 or 30 years. They're going to take a large chunk of the market share right now. In the next crash, in the next dip or recession, as industries change, people start losing their jobs, they'll go in again for round 2, round 3, round 4. Start seizing up as much property as possible. Think of it as like a wave breaking over a beach, just drawing the sand in. That's exactly what's happening with the housing market. The bubble has room to grow before it bursts, according to John Burns Real Estate Consulting, but it is inflating fast. The firm expects home prices to climb 12% this year on top of last year's 11%, and increase at least 6% in 2022, a period of appreciation reminiscent of 2004 and 2005. That boom was different, fueled by loose lending that enabled individuals to speculate on home prices by racking up mortgages they cannot repay. Only if home prices kept climbing. The money party ended a few years later when home prices stopped rising. The ensuing crash wiped out $11 trillion in U.S. household wealth and brought the global financial system to the brink of collapse. Financiers stepped in starting in 2011 and gobbled up foreclosed homes at steep discounts. They dispatched buyers to courthouse auctions with duffel bags full of cash. Smartphones and tablets, computers enabled them to orchestrate the land grab and manage tens of thousands of far-flung properties thereafter. Right now, with technology, they can manage properties at a lower cost than ever before. They can manage the properties and they can yield a bigger return on these properties through better management. They dominated the market for years, accounting for about a third of sales in some markets and setting a floor for falling prices. There wasn't much competition. Stung by losses, banks made it harder for regular home buyers to get a mortgage. Millions of Americans were underwater, owing more on their mortgages than their home was worth and unable to move. Home rental firms, including Invitation Homes and American Homes for Rent, these companies right now, they are the ones getting bailouts from Big Brother through the eviction moratorium. A lot of the money that Congress signed was like $42 billion, $46 billion, some really huge number like that. It went to corporations. A lot of it went to corporations, not small mom and pop landlords. Invitation Homes, for example, they made more money during the pandemic in rental collections than they did before the pandemic. And the reason being is because they increased rents because people were afraid to move. Renting suburban homes proved to be so profitable that landlords hit the open market and added properties at full price once foreclosures dried up. Many now build homes explicitly to rent. The pandemic sparked a race for home office space in yards. Occupancy rates reached records and rents are rising with home prices. The ecosystem of competition that service, finance, and mimic the mega landlord is booming. Burns counted for more than 200 companies and investment firms in the house hunt. Computer-assisted flipper Open Door Technologies, money manager including JP Morgan Asset Management, and BlackRock. BlackRock has about $8 trillion in assets under management. Some people call them the fourth branch of Big Brother. These people are fighting to get in here. And now platforms such as Fundrise, they buy, arrange for the management of the rental properties on behalf of individuals and builders. LGI Homes, which now reports wholesale home sales to bulk buyers in its quarterly results. PCCP LLC, which technically invests in apartment buildings and office towers, said it bought rental home communities in the Southeast, the start of a $1 billion pact with CalSTRS, California, $286.9 billion Teacher Retirement Association. So the entire fund they're going after. Home builders, Linear Corp announced a rental venture with investment firms including Centerbridge Partners LP and Alliance, to which it has potential other bidders. Home builders Linear Corp announced a rental venture with investment firm including Centerbridge Partners, to which it and potentially other builders will supply more than 4 billion of houses. Madison Realty Capital moved into rentals with clients that used to focus on developing apartment buildings and owner-occupied subdivisions. On Thursday, it closed a $110 million loan on a project in Los Angeles where 220 of the nearly 700 home sites are being sold to investors. The original plans, derailed by the housing crash, didn't envision any rentals. A lot of things that would have been for sale housing are going to be for rent housing, said Josh Zegan, Madison managing principal. Bruce McNillage began building houses to rent out around Nashville, Tennessee in 2005 after the housing crash. His Canuck partners expanded into the Southeast markets, flipping occupied rentals to bigger investors. Kinloch was financed mostly by community banks in the cities where it rehabbed foreclosures and built rentals. These days, Kinloch can borrow far more from Walker & Dunlap, a commercial real estate lending for going into suburban rentals. Mr. McNeil's problem is that others are bidding up houses and lots. I am boxed out, he said. There's too many people chasing things and they're willing to overpay. It's simply silly money right now. This is what we're seeing. This is what we're going to see. We're going to see more and more and more of this. And it's going to be quite frightening. It's really going to be frightening because people aren't going to be able to pass down homes. They're not going to be able to pass down equity to their kids. This is traditionally how wealth was built, was through owning a single family home, and 25, 30 years later the house is paid off and they give that house to their daughter or son and they keep it in the family, or maybe they sell it and buy other properties. But without that single family home to build out equity, there was no family money. And now with the industries changing, we're going to see small mom and pop businesses suffer in this fourth industrial revolution. And that is why I think they say you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, because you won't have a choice. You will have to just be happy with it. So my advice to new investors now is to make sure you have a large emergency fund. If you're going to buy a house, make sure you have a large emergency fund so that in the event of any real problem, you have enough time to pivot and navigate, find a solution, and not bleed out and fall behind on your mortgage. What are your thoughts on everything that's happening right now with World Economic Forum, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and the You'll Own Nothing and Be Happy movement? Do you think it's actually going to happen? Drop your comments below. I'm genuinely curious what you guys think about all this. And consider subscribing here. This is my second channel. I'm going to be posting here a lot, basically every day. So please drop a comment below, smash that like button for me. It really helps the channel a lot. It pushes the content out to more people. And consider again subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next video.